When it comes to Magic the Gathering, there is a lot written on the subject. From strategy guides written by pros, to corny dummy guides written by no one you have ever heard of, to art collection and exploration of the game itself and its history, and sometimes it is difficult to tell which books are worth picking up and reading and which are best left in a box full of chaff. In this video, I will explore 3 Magic the Gathering books: the unofficial Ultimate Collector's Guide by Ben Bleiweiss, Generation Decks by Titus Chalk, and Mental Mana by Will Jonathan. As a former professor of English, I'm really excited to sit down and discuss with all of you how and why these books either succeed or fail, and to offer you my recommendations on which you should pick up and read. Whether it's finance, history, or just how to play this game better, it's in a book, so let's take a look. Magic the Gathering Cards, the unofficial Ultimate Collector's Guide, written by Star City Games alum and MTG financier Ben Bleiweiss, is intended as a new player's guide to the world of Magic, card collections, and values. Evocative of a comic book or baseball card yearly annual price guide, this work isn't meant to be the be-all, end-all of pricing information, but rather an offering of a good basis for identification of Magic cards by set, their general values, knowing which within that set has a premium value, and just a guide to collecting Magic as a whole. That's the intent, anyway. But ultimately, well, I struggled deeply to actually find that point within these pages. Honestly, this is an incredibly perplexing book. While there's a very few brief sections that touch on a soft combination of finance and mostly just set history, 99% of this book is just a printout of every card from every set leading up to Dominaria with a corresponding value. Literally, that's it. It's a list of every Magic card and what it was worth at the time of printing, which honestly is not too helpful to anyone. Card prices change. Monthly, weekly, daily, they go up and they go down. Having a printed list of the price of every Magic the Gathering card is fairly useless because of this. Chalice of the Void is listed at $70 in this book, but it is currently going for $41, and it hasn't been around $70 since last year. Heck, I am recording this review several days before it is published, and the price I list here might be off by a few bucks by the time the video is published. And it likely will be off by a lot more than that when the video is viewed a month from now, 6 months from now. Prices change. This is why looking at card value on StarCityGames.com, TCGplayer.com, CardKingdom.com/TCC, ChannelFireball.com, whatever.com is the best way to check the value of a card, as those prices are extremely up to date. While there is some discrepancy between companies, looking up a price online remains the best way to go. Not buying a $27.99 book that is a printout of out-of-date prices. Now, the book is nicely illustrated and the graphic design and layout is very pleasing. The bits of text it does have, and I really must stress how little of this there is, mere paragraphs out of hundreds of pages of card names and out-of-date prices, have the potential for interest, but never really materialize into anything too helpful. It's funny, a Magic the Gathering collector's guide is actually a really great idea. Hearing from a longtime member of the finance community about the ins and outs of trading, collecting, and selling cards could make for an interesting read. A chance for MTG Finance to both humanize itself to the wider MTG community, dispel myths, get casuals interested, and trade stories from the GP floor. But that's not what this is. I don't know what this is, and maybe I am not seeing it. Maybe the comments for this video will be filled with frustrated people explaining to this dotty old professor incredibly obvious facts and aspects to this book that I have somehow missed. But if that is the case, then I still missed it when I got and read through this book. It's a giant printout of every card ever with out-of-date card values. Scry magazine was both fun fun and necessary in the early days of Magic the Gathering, but technology and finance has moved on. No one with an internet access needs this book, and I'm going to have to give it an outright fail as it is not even a book, just a stock market ticker from months ago. Generation Decks by Titus Chalk is a chronicle of Magic the Gathering from the early days of Richard Garfield and team's development of the game to Team Channel Fireball and Luis Scott Vargas's thrilling victories at Pro Tour Dragon's Maze, and everything in between. Titus Chalk here pens what can only be described as a love letter to the greatest game ever made, and the people who helped shape it along the way, from Mark Rosewater to Luis Scott Vargas to even characters later on such as Mike Long and Mark Justice. Titus looks at Magic, warts and all. And while I won't go so far as to say this is a must-read for every Magic player, I will say that those of us who view the game as more than just that, more than just a game, but see and embrace the history, the community, and the passion for what is the gathering of Magic, then this is indeed a great read. Let's take a look at an excerpt. Starting with the following round, Scott Vargas starts to play. His opponent is a wildcard entry to the tournament, famous video game streamer Sean Plott, better known by his StarCraft and Twitter handle Day9TV. While Plott is one of the weaker players in this room, he is one of its most engaging personalities. Invited by Wizards in the hope some of his legion of fans would tune into the Pro Tour, he is also just the opponent Scott Vargas needs. Their games are close, played out in a friendly spirit, and most importantly, fun. The Team Channel Fireball chief finds himself enjoying the tournament again, and crucially, emerges victorious. Buoyed by success and the kind of social encounter he has always loved at these events, LSV is back. Chalk also interweaves his own life into the text, opening up about his own experiences not just as a Magic the Gathering player, but as a person, growing up with the game, and just in this often cruel world. At first I was somewhat thrown by these divergent sections, but I soon was overwhelmed with how Chalk was writing his own story into Magic's. We are all a part of this game, the author included. For him to stand back and offer a dry, detached historical chronicle would be a disservice. Who we are is what makes Magic the game it is today, more so than just the greatest set of rules and cards. Garfield, Rosewater, Scott Vargas are a part of the fabric of this game, and I think it is bold and moving the way Chalk has integrated his own life story. But what was less satisfying for me was the lack of chronology that events are presented in. For a book titled Generation Decks, I would have wanted to see the game unfold in a more linear fashion, one generation to the next, while instead it is chosen to leap back and forth almost tangentially at points. While not a major detraction, and anyone already familiar with Magic should not be disoriented from this, I do not agree with this structural choice. The constant leaping around between events separated by great distances of time, sometimes even within the same chapter, deludes the power of the passage of time and the enormity of Magic's lifespan. Nonetheless, Generation Decks is a great read and a great book for any Magic player. No, this does not attempt to offer strategy or gameplay tips, but it does present the rich, living history of Magic the Gathering, and I think that anyone with more than just a standard deck and some draft leftovers would want to have this book upon their shelf. Grade? It's a B+. Next, anyone who has not already read Will Jonathan's articles on Magic the Gathering is missing out. In these articles, which I will link in this video's description, Jonathan explores not just basic strategy concepts as sideboarding tips or matchup advice, but delves instead into the realm of mental magic, improving your overall gameplay through a better mental understanding of just what MTG improvement looks like and how to reach that point. It is only fitting, therefore, that Will Jonathan's first Magic the Gathering book be titled Mental Mana, as it explores in great detail and precise prose how to master the mental game of Magic the Gathering, a game not necessarily played against your opponents, but a against yourself. As Jonathan himself has illustrated previously, in Magic you are supposed to be a wizard battling another wizard, and your weapon is a spell book, so why wouldn't you want your mind to be in a good place? As we move through the chapters, Jonathan covers everything from mindset to the best way to win, to how to develop confidence as a player, while still looking at the importance of having fun and avoiding mental burnout, coping with results, eliminating tilt, implementing habits and routines. This is a mastercraft. Dispelling false beliefs, a favorite chapter of mine, practicing self-compassion, and defining your own success. And throughout all of this, Jonathan is able to flesh out these ideas much more in the free space of a book than within the confines of his regular articles. In many ways, this is like sports psychology applied to Magic, as the book is about being process-oriented versus goal-oriented. Hinging your own self-worth on the fact of whether you achieve your goal is not very true for let's say you have aspirations of making the Pro Tour and you dream of becoming a full-time pro. You tell yourself every day, becoming a professional player and playing on the Pro Tour means everything to me. It's something that I really care about. But then you don't research or study the game. You don't put in nearly enough of the work that you're required to reach that level. You can tell yourself that you care about making the Pro Tour and becoming a pro player until you're blue in the face. Your actions, or lack thereof, show that you don't care about that nearly as much as you feel that you do. I also really like the way the author picks apart so many things that you hear passed around at GPs. The book covers a huge line of misconceptions that are commonly passed around by Magic players, including but not limited to the fact that luck or variance is a part of this game and you can play your best and still lose. The goal isn't winning, it's playing your best, and making that realization is a critical key to improving as a Magic player. And in that extent, Jonathan covers everything from the false beliefs of, if I take a mulligan, I'm guaranteed to lose, to, I can't win against a bad matchup. In these, some of my favorite sections of the book, Jonathan dispels the most commonly held myths about the success at Magic the Gathering and explains in precise and engaging detail not only why these myths are indeed false, but how to overcome them and succeed at the game. Play the best game that you can play. I actually found that what Jonathan writes about can be applied to more than just Magic. Taking care of your mental health when you approach anything in life is the real game, not MTG. And many times during the reading of this book, I found my thoughts going to my YouTube channel, my desires to succeed at content creation, even my other non-Magic hobbies. The lessons here, like many Magic the Gathering lessons, are applicable not only to the game we play, but the life we navigate. But as far as the game we play, I think this may be the finest book I have read yet to guide myself as a player to performing better at it. It's a solid A, and I would honestly say that if you are ever to read just one MTG book, Mental Mana should be it. I hope very much this video has been of some help to you. You can help me out by remembering to like, share, subscribe, or just by leaving a message. Is there a book about Magic the Gathering that you've read that you'd like me to review? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to tell me why you think this is worth it for a Magic the Gathering player to read. And this video is brought to you by my and many other people's local game store, Card Kingdom, a brick-and-mortar pillar of this community, as well as the Patreon support of viewers such as you. These are the people that keep Tolarian Community College going and growing strong. So thank you.